Hello and welcome to the next edition of our podcast. Stefan and I, we visited Arctic 15, a really cool virtual conference. And we just talked a bit about it. And, we met a couple of really cool VCs. We met a couple of cool people like the founder of EA. And yeah, Stefan, what do you think about it?
Yeah, hi, Bench. Yeah, it was the first time I've been to Arctic. I was surprised it was really great organized. Like the video streams were really clean and you had like 25 minutes per stream. So you need to concentrate to the key points. And of course, there were no delay meeting the next investor or publisher. So I really enjoyed the Arctic conference. How about you?
Yeah, I really liked it. Actually, I think it was a little bit like Bits and Pretzels, was very heavy on startups and startup ecoculture and sort of like the different verticals. I thought it was very interesting to meet a lot of people. Like, for example, I've met Trip Hawkins, the founder of EA, and he's a really fascinating person because, he worked for 4 years with Steve Jobs on Apple. He was basically leading the whole desktop division there, and then he founded EA, obviously. And it's interesting to always like talk with these people because then you understand, hey, they were also startups and they had like their kickbacks and they had their sort of, like challenges, like almost like the same challenges we have right now, right? Like, for example, he had to talk with, they were a small company, then they had to approach the NFL to acquire the license for Madden, right? Because obviously those sport games that EA does very successfully now, they all require these big licenses, and it was very difficult for them because you're a small studio, you go to the NFL and they're like, who are you? Why should we talk to you, right? And that was very fascinating for me. And he talked about the challenges and, back in the days, there were no distribution channels, for example, right? Like it was like the kind of like the stone age of video games, so to speak. Like there were no Best Buys or whatever. You had to do a lot of things manually. There were no like this whole supply chain system that we have today was not really active. And yeah, it was I think was very, very inspiring. I think there was a lot to learn, and I really, really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I was more into the one-to-one meetings. So I met a lot of indie publishers and investors. It was interesting what you say. I mean, the indie publishers told me exactly the same problem they have. Like, it takes a long time. I mean, I was not aware of that a game can take up to 10 years to code. And they say, for example, one example, which was really great, it was a lady, and she told me, yeah, we are now 2 years in the developing stage, and we have a really good customer base already who are testing and who are involved in our journey. And she said, but we are running out of funds. And I explained to her how she can raise funds through FiPME exchange while she can sell 25 or 50 rare items, or they develop a currency which they can already have floating on the exchange and then can refinance their coding. And she was amazed and said, she never heard about these kind of options. But that is the main problem. A lot of these publishers have a community already, but they can't monetize it. And the same was with the investors, what you said. You had a lot of investors who were really keen to understand more, but they all also try to use old measures in order to see if it's interesting for them or not.
Absolutely, yeah. I would totally second that. I mean, I'm part of the game industry now for 10 years, and I mean, I've met a lot of like indie developers. Like, I became good friends with Sean Murray. They had like this huge success with No Man's Sky, but before he had to actually bet his house on their last game, on Joey Danger, right? And this is kind of like, it's a huge challenge. I think it's something that is not really much talked about. Actually, it's kind of like sometimes talked about at GDC, but not really in sort of like the mainstream. And that's why I'm also very fascinated to think about what we do and how we can help them. And it's kind of like the energy is amazing, right? I think it's really cool to talk to these like not just big companies, but also like smaller indie studios, because I think we can really sort of like build them a more stable revenue stream and give them a better pipeline, so to speak, to sort of like monetize their game so they can more focus on creativity, and we can sort of like build that area for them. And I think that's really cool. I think that's something I'm really, really interested in and talking about. And yeah, I think it's also like very emotional, to be honest. Like I've met a lot of indies at GDC, especially in San Francisco. And I think when we talk about the game industry, like everyone just has the big numbers in their head, right? We see like Ubisoft, EA, Activision, they're all printing money, especially right now due to COVID, because gaming has risen so much. You know, their like in-game items and stuff like that has grown so much. But I think it's always important to also think about like these smaller indies. They're kind of like scrapping by, very often having a difficult time. Like you said, you know, like they're developing these games over 2, 3, 4 years. It's very difficult for them. I'm very happy that now we have programs like Xbox Game Pass, like the PlayStation indie service and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's really important for them that we build something that can sort of improve the ecosystem. And yeah, I think that was really cool. It was really interesting because this is kind of like I think it's a very specialized conference. You have a lot of startups there. And what I also found very interesting actually is talking to a couple of VCs, and like there was like a very good keynote by Jeff Pulver. He was like an early investor in a lot of big companies like Twitter and Facebook and Amazon and Dropbox and stuff like that. And I think it was kind of interesting for me when he said that like these traditional KPIs that typically VCs want from you. Like, I mean, we also talk with a lot of VCs, right, Stefan? Yeah. And typically they are like, yeah, bring us like 10,000 paying customers and we'll give you money. And it's not that easy, right? Like building the platform with our own budget and then basically on top bring in 10,000 users. It's a challenge. It's not that easy. Like it's not as easy as a lot of VCs, I believe. And he said, you know, like a lot of companies like Apple or something like that, they wouldn't have gotten funding if they would have actually strived to sort of like stay behind all of those KPIs, right? Because Apple and a lot of companies, even Amazon, right? Like I mean, Amazon is like the most valuable company on earth right now. That was not a super fast scaling company, which is very interesting, I think, to see and to think about. And Dropbox, right? I mean, he was an early investor in Dropbox, and he told the story when Dropbox founder, he was kind of like annoyed by, you know, talking to VCs and investors and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he just like did almost like this rant video where he was like, yeah, you know, people need this. Like, why don't you give us money? And he showed the idea of Dropbox, and then he actually got the money because people were like, yeah, I mean, maybe he's right? So that was really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that was really a good feeling for the publishers as well, because we went through that journey as well. I mean, we built our product and it took a long time, like 2.5 years already. And I mean, the understanding of their problem and about their passion and how we really got our passion into a product, it was a really, really talk from the heart. And I really enjoyed the talk we had. So I hope and I mean, time will tell if we can help these indies bringing their passion onto the gaming market, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, you can really see that. Like, I think every time you talk to indies, it's very. I think they're very passionate about their product, and they're very, like, I think they sort of built this like beautiful communities around their small games, and I think that's very nice. And I mean, if we can help those people to not only sort of like build these pipelines, but also their gamers, like their customers, to build a career out of their passion, because that would be really cool, right? Why not? I mean, why should not someone that spent 100 hours in No Man's Sky be able to trade things and then make it easier for other people to acquire this? I think this is something we talk a lot about, right? Like it's that thing that some people have a lot of time, but a lot of people don't have that, and then they would love to pay for something just to sort of get more out of it. And yeah, I think that's something we can do, and I'm really, really hoping that we can sort of improve the life for indies and yeah, just grow together.
Absolutely. If someone would ask you, would you go again to Arctic?
Yes, absolutely. I really hope that we can soon all travel to conference again. I mean, I think this was a beautifully made virtual conference, like you said, right? It was very easy to access, very easy to find everything. But yeah, sometimes I feel like I would love to go to this like conference again, like we did in Riga, where you just, you know, at parties, at having a beer, having a tea, whatever, you just sit down with someone and you have a chat obviously that's something that's a bit missing in these virtual conferences. But yeah, I totally think that this was really worth it, and it was really fun, and it was really, I think we made a lot of really cool connections, and I'm looking forward to develop this further. So yeah, I mean, if you're an indie developer, if you're a publisher, if you have your C, if you're interested in gaming, if you want to get into the ecosystem, let's have a chat. Like, just add us on LinkedIn, Stefan Kaemper, Benjamin Kratsch, no problem. Let's feel invited for discussion, and let's get things on the road and have a great 2021 together. Thank you.
Looking forward to meet you.